I'm
Avatar mein Baba ki jai.
That as we saw in the movie, The Wedding Cake, there were 2 roses made out of icing sugar, which were decorating the cake. And unknown to us, they were removed before we cut the cake. And one of the times we were with Baba in his room, Baba tells our Nawaz to go and fetch those 2 roses. She'd taken them and kept them for, well, I guess for this reason, wrapped them in tissue paper, and then she brought them to Baba, and then Baba hands them to us and says, eat one on your 25th wedding anniversary, which is already done and gone, and one on your 50th. So that's 2.5 years from now. So the story of those. I'm so glad the young guys are here. Thank you. Dear Lois and the LA Sahavas, Baba Sahavas group here, thank you again for having us here. But when Margaret was saying, when they were there, and we finally said, okay, but truly when I got the invitation and Amrit read it out to me, I was very hesitant. I said, how can we justify, accepting this invitation? What are we going to tell them? So my son said, well, make up some stories, Dad. I said, I'm not even good at that. So forget that. Anyway, so luckily, there are a few times when the wife's verbal torrent comes in use, and this is one of them. She has lots to say, more than me. So Amrit will take on the bulk of the work here, except I can steal a story from someone like her father, if I can share that with you. But one thing that I do remember during that visit of mine to Baba in 64 to 65, December 64 to March 65, one of the days, I'll just backtrack a little. So, as I said earlier, at the age of 13, in 1958, I went to England. And I was there for the next 15 years. But, 58, 59, my father gave me a good old-fashioned radio, and I started to listen to Western music. Pop in those days, and then when the rock and roll bands started to come on the scene, I fell in love with that kind of music. So, I started to buy, in those days, you've got those 45s, they call them, records, and I started to buy them and listen to rock and roll music, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and of course later on the Who, the Stones, all that. And so in 64, 65, when I came for that visit with my family, somewhere down the line, somebody must have told, probably my dad, Dara likes listening to music. So one day when I walk into Monday Hall and meet Baba, Baba says, Dara, I hear you like music. I said, yes, Baba, I like listening to music. Unfortunately, I don't play any instrument, I don't sing. So Baba says, well, we have Francis here, who also is a court musician, poet. So go and talk to him about music. Francis was in his room. He was in a room, the little cottage across from Monday Hall. One of the rooms was where he was. So they pointed me to where he was, and as I approached, Francis was smoking. He liked it. And he was sitting writing something, and Francis was he didn't mince words, so of course I walked in and he just grunted and said, yes, what do you want? So I said, Francis, Baba sent me here to talk to you about music. I said, oh, is that so? What music? So I said, well, Francis, rock and roll. It was such a disgusted look. I said, yes. I I said, yes, Francis, you know, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who. So he says, I don't know anything about that music, but yeah, listen to this. So then he picks up this little harmonium he had, and he played something on it, and recited one of those poems. And then he looked at me and he said, this guy, you know, he doesn't appreciate anything good like this. So he had enough of me. So he picked up the paper. Of course, the main thing. So I said, oh, you haven't heard about rock and roll, Francis? Then you must be a square. So then he had enough of me, so he picks up this paper on which he had written something and walks me back into Monday Hall. So as I step inside, Baba has a surprised look on my face and goes, what happened? Back so soon? So luckily Francis takes over. He says, Baba, this is the music that he talks about, rock and roll, you know, I have no interest in. And when I played something and recited my poem, it seemed like it was way over his head. And on top of it, he calls me a square. So Baba looks at him and looks at me and said, he looks more round to me than square. So I said, no, Baba, this is not a geometric term. It's a term you use for when somebody is old-fashioned. So Baba says, really? I said, well, I'm the ancient one. What term do you call me? Burst my bubble, and that was it. You want to say something, Amrit, before I get into your Amrit said, I was telling her, what am I going to tell them? So she said, you can tell them my father's story as to how he came to Baba, which of course, by right, she should. Yeah. But then she has lots of other stories she can share with you. Yes, Amrit?
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I'll just give you that.
Excuse me. Yeah, one sequel to all this that happened. Then of course Baba must have talked to saying, he said this boy needs an education in good music. So it just so happened that shortly after this episode, Begum Akhtar, the queen of ghazal singers, who Baba loved, she was coming to sing to Baba at Mirza and also happened to be staying at Vilu's. So Baba told me, make sure you're here when she comes to listen to her. And of course I did. We accompanied her from Vilu's to Mirza, and when I got inside, usually when I would come in the hall and greet Baba, Baba would have me sit in front of him, on the wall facing him, but you know, in front of him. So I could see him better. That was the whole object of all this. But this time, he had me stand right next to him in case I fell asleep. So now, yeah.
Okay. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
So, we plan to do these two stories today, and then we have some other stories for tomorrow too. What I've decided is that Michael sitting there?
Yes.
Hi, I can see you. And so Dara said, you know, I don't have that many stories because by his grace he's fortunate to born and be in Baba's family, but I'm the lucky one too who spent quite a lot of time in Baba's ashram with Baba. Before marriage and around marriage time, even after marriage too. So I have more stories, and especially like my father's story, how he came to Baba. And sorry today, I got a little tickle in my throat, I know what happened. Yeah, I'll have a little water, please.
Oh, where is your wife?
No, I should have brought some with me, I'm sorry for that.
We've got it.
Yeah. So I'll introduce my father. I know most of you heard about him. Oh, thank you. Great. I'm going to get 6 bottles now. Yeah. Dehra, yeah. So just a little introduction that why he was revolutionary, why and how. Then Dara will tell the story how he came out of prison and how he came to be with Baba. My grandparents, we have, as I said yesterday, live in the foothills of Himalayas, but my grandparents from both sides, mother's side and father's side, they all came from the mountains, very close to actually China border now. And so when my grandmother was expecting my father, they came down to Rishikesh because there they didn't have good hospitals and doctors and this and that, so they came to Rishikesh. And my grandfather, father's father, had a business. He used to, in those days, he used to collect musk. And then he will go to the far away cities like Jaipur and South and to sell that musk. You know musk? From the mountain there, they have this deal, people would collect that musk. And my grandfather was a supplier for that. And so they in Rishikesh, and my grandmother still had some time to give birth to my father, this child. My grandfather decided meanwhile, you stay with some friends here and I'll go and supply that musk to the place where it's supposed to be. And while he was coming back, he came back and the baby was born, but they couldn't even reach to the place they're supposed to be going. And my grandmother started having pain, so they had to stop to this temple. And even today, but those days was like a not right thing to have a baby because now it wasn't considered clean and this and that. But these people knew my grandfather's family, and also they decided to give a place behind the temple. There was a little garden, little yard, and there's tamarind tree, and under the tamarind tree they did some saris or something. They made a little room for my grandmother to give birth. And this temple was one of the Ram's brothers, Shatrughan. So that's why my father's first name is Shatrughan, because he was born in Shatrughan temple. And he gave birth, my grandmother gave birth there. And then my grandfather left to deliver the musk to. By the time he came back after 8 days later, but when he was coming back after 8 days later, he got killed. Because in those days, dacoits and all that, and they realized that he must be bringing that money with him. And so my father was only 8 days old when he lost his father. He didn't even go to, grandmother couldn't even take him to home. They were still in a different town. Anyway, they went home, her side of the family took care of him and things like that, but how long she could stay with. So what she decided to become, the story, this is, I'm telling Dara's story. Then I'll tell my story about her, my grandmother. So she took the baby, and baby started growing up. She couldn't stay long, with parents, so she came back towards the Rishikesh and Dehra side. And that's how they settled down in Dehradun. And she went to school to become priestess, and it was again unheard of female becoming a priestess in Hindu religion. But she was from good family and she had some education, so she did all that. But same time, this kid, when he was only 13 or 14 years old now, my father started not going to school and joining these revolutionary parties, doing errands for these parties, taking the information from one town to another town and things like that. And gradually got so much involved in that age of 16 or 17, he was first time he was in British prison. And then regularly, often he was in prison. So now that starts from the prison time. What happened in British prison?
Yeah, so because of all his revolutionary activities, he was caught and put into prison. So he spent in total 10 years in prison. And towards the end of his 10 years, he said that he was treated as a political prisoner. So he said, I was treated fairly well, but towards the end of the time, getting close to India's independence, he began to notice that his colleagues were mysteriously disappearing. So he said for the first time in his life, he felt afraid for his life. Till then he was fearless. He didn't. But now this fear got into him. So he thought, well, you know, I know because he was an atheist. He said, you know, I don't really know how God exists, but I know that he'll be the only person, if he is what he is, who couldn't get me out of this prison. So he said he decided to ask God's help, and he said, you know, he knelt down in his prison, looked up towards the heavens. There was only a ventilator for light to come into the prison, so he faced that and he prayed, and that's story you've heard of Mr. God. He addressed God as Mr. God. Mr. God, if you do exist, please release me from this binding, and then any other binding you put on me, I will readily accept. And then he thought, well, you know, how do I know it's really God's hand? It could be by chance that, you know, I get released. So he said, I then put a condition. I said, you get me out of this prison by 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, knowing full well that the prison warden who would sign the release for sign the papers for his release wouldn't come to the office till 10, 11 in the morning. But sure enough, the next morning, the guards come and say, your release papers have come to the office. He said he picked up his trunk with his few belongings in it and went to the office. The warden was there to sign his release papers, and as soon as the release papers were signed, the warden locked the room and went back home. So he said that he was out of the prison wall, you know, at that unearthly hour, and there was no transport to take him, you know, to the railway station. So he waited there till 9, 10, and then finally he got to the railway station and back to Dehra. Where was he? Buried?
Irani or something like that.
Well,
it's okay.
It was, so he got back, and this is probably 1944, 45. So now he's back home, and you know, he's never really worked in his life. He just fought for his freedom. So now what to do? So his his mother had settled down in Dehra, as Amrit said, in this village. So she said, you know, while he was in prison, Amrit's grandmother and mother then started to take to farming, because the where they stayed was farmland, and there's rich soil in Dehra, so they started to take to farming. And then when her father got back, of course, he then got also involved in farming. And gradually they settled down, the farm prospered, and just time went by. He, of course, in the meantime, he had made friends, and he encouraged some of them to come also and settle there close to where he lived, so that he would have company, because it was pretty isolated in those days. Well, this time comes, this is now, I guess, 49. India got its independence, and Kumar, of course, is now relieved of all that, and he gradually sort of gave up being involved in politics. And
he was still in politics till Baba told him later on, not in politics. So it wasn't very active.
Yeah, active
But
politics.
he started joining because now India is independent and he was well known. So there was a Congress party who wanted him to be in the party and whatever, yeah.
Anyway, he says that he was sitting outside this early morning, outside his farmhouse in the little courtyard, reading the newspaper. And in those days, hardly any outsider, came down that way. And so he was surprised to see this danga, this horse cart, coming down the dirt road towards his farm. And his house was pretty much the only house that existed there. So this horse cart came, and since his was the first house, they stopped and got down. There were 3 of them, I think. Keki Narawala, Keki Desai from Delhi, and Kishan Singh. These are the 3 stalwart Baba lovers from up north. So they were sent on a mission by Baba to find a suitable place for him to make his base. This is now during the new life. From there, he would go to surrounding places like Haridwar, Rishikesh, Mussoorie, but his base was to be there. Now they've been searching for quite a while for a suitable place, but they didn't find one. And then finally, under Baba's instructions, they come on this path leading to Kumar's house. Even though his first name is Shatrughan, everybody knew him as Kumar afterwards in the Mandi. So he was surprised to see these people. They were well dressed, and they got out of the tanga, and he said, "Well, can you help us?" So he said, "Yeah, what do you want?" He said, "Well, we're looking for a place, land with if possible, with a little cottage on it for our elder brother." So Kumar said, "Well, it just so happens that the property almost directly across from where they were was for sale." Now that property actually also belonged to her father at one time, to Kumar, but he gifted it to one of his political colleagues, hoping that he would come and live there and give him company. Well, that person, didn't like living out in this isolation, so of course he left. So that property was for sale.
Excuse me, you didn't tell how they landed up there.
Well, I did. I said under Baba's instructions.
No, but what were the instructions? That's a very...
All right, then you fill that in, please.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun here, folks.
The partner and Dara said the Baba was coming to Dehradun, and they looked around place for Baba, and the telegrams and letters going forward from Baba to them, and they couldn't find exactly the spot Baba was wanted. So out of many letters up and down, then Baba sent instructions very clearly. In Dehradun there's a clock tower which is center of the city. So Baba said, Baba been to Dehradun many a time before, in 30s and early 40s and all that. In fact, Baba went to Dehradun many more times than anywhere else.
Wow.
Yeah, if you see that there are numbers count.
Except maybe Hyderabad.
No, more than even Hyderabad, because we calculated that. My
Okay.
So then Baba sent this detailed letter. He said, from Clock Tower, go south 4 miles southwest and then turn southwest. And from the main road, go half a mile inside. And there I went, and that was my father's house. So this detail must be there, right?
Yes. It is.
So now you know. That's how they left.
All right, so then hang it up there. Okay, so of course, father says yes, that property is for sale, and it just happened to be the correct amount. These people were carrying cash with them, and in those days there was only 9,000 rupees, and it's about 4 acres of land. But of course, in those days it was still quite quite a bit of money. And these people were carrying the cash on them. So Kumar first got a little concerned. He said, well, these, what kind of people are these carrying that kind of money with them? Anyway, the deal was done, signed in one day. And Baba was able to say, the correct land and property had been acquired and this is suitable for his work. One other thing these people told Kumar, that before our elder brother comes to stay here, there'll be another person who will come and...
By the time, Baba's order was there not to tell anybody about
this is
his
new life, so
new life,
Baba said, address me as your elder brother. So anyway, before Baba was to come there, so they said that some other elderly person would come to stay there, and would you kindly see to him and feed him? So Kumar said, yes, I am a farmer, I have plenty of food, and we'll be happy to feed this person. That person actually happened to be Kekobad. So Kekobad came to stay there, and Kumar would go visit him, send food to him, and he said, Kekobad, of course, again would address Baba as his brother, but he said the first time he saw Baba's face was when Kekobad showed him a Baba picture. And then he said that then the time came for Baba's coming to Dehradun. So, of course, in the meantime, the other people like Kishan Singh and Noshirwan's father, Keki Narwala, they would come also to visit Kekobad. And of course now, they befriended Kumar also. So, when they heard of Baba's arrival in Dehradun at the railway station, they invited Kumar to go along with them. They said, would you like to come and meet our elder brother? So of course Kumar said, yes, I would. So he went along with them, and they go to the railway station. They receive Baba and take him into the waiting room, because they were going from there. They were, getting picked up and taken to town and to the cottage. So they were waiting for the transport. So while the Baba and the men Mandi were in the waiting room, the four ladies were escorted to the other waiting room which was reserved just for ladies. So of course Kumar had no idea that they were there. But he said he walked into the waiting room and as soon as his eyes fell on Baba, he said, I just fell in love with this person. And he said, all I wanted to do was to serve him. So he was just introduced, and then he said, since I wasn't part of the group there, I sort of went towards the back and just stood there and watched what was happening. So after a little while, Baba turns to one of the, whether it was Kitchen Singh or Keki Narawala, one of the locals, and says, what arrangements have you made for food? And they were horrified. None of them had thought of that. Apparently they didn't expect Baba to be there long enough to serve them food. So they said, sorry Baba, we haven't made any arrangements, but we can quickly get something for you. So that's when Kumar said, like a little schoolboy, I put my hand up. So of course the attention turned to me and said, yes, what? I said, Baba, if you'll permit me, I will get you the food. I'm a farmer, I have plenty of food at home, and please, can I bring the food? So Baba said, okay, but in one condition, you have to get it here within 1 hour. So Kumar said, yes, Baba, done. And this the railway station from where they lived is about 6 miles. Now in those days, not much traffic, but even then. So he had a motorcycle and he went back home, and he told his wife, quickly prepare something that could do quickly. So they made this simple dish, rice pulao. But he had a huge container of it, and he then took it back to Baba and got there within an hour. And he goes and he puts it on the table in front of Baba. And then Baba himself started to serve the food. Everybody was handed plates. There were by then about 30, 40 people in that room.
So he forgot when he reached there with the food, what did he see?
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. So he said the first thing that he was very taken by was that it seemed like the scene hadn't changed at all. It was like he stepped out of the room for a second. Everything seemed to be the same as it was when he left an hour ago. Baba was standing by the table with his fingers on the table, tapping the table. Amrit was bending down, unpacking a package. It's like, he's same scene that he had left an hour ago. Anyway, then he brought the food and he kept it in front of Baba, and Baba himself started to serve everyone. So when he left, there weren't so many people in the room. So he was now concerned. That food's not going to be sufficient for everyone. So of course, when it came to his turn to be served, he said, Baba, I've already eaten, I'm not hungry. But Baba said, no, bring your plate. And of course, he heaped his plate with the food. And then when the men were all fed, Baba then indicates that Amrit said, for the women, the bangles. So send this to the women. Now Kumar said, of course, he had no idea that women were also there. So it went back, and by now Kumar thought, there couldn't be a grain of rice left in that utensil. But after it was brought back and given to him, he said, just a divot of that rice was missing from that bowl. So he said, this is my first sign of who this person was. He wasn't just a human being. But he said to me, it didn't matter. He said, I was just head over heels in love with him and wanted to serve him. So that was his first exposure to Baba. Then, of course, Baba again gave him an opportunity to serve him. Still, while he was still in Dehra, Baba seemed to like what food was brought to him, and he told Kumar, could you also bring food for us where we stay? Now initially, before they moved to that cottage which I mentioned, they were staying in a bungalow in town, close to where Free, Narawala and Nochawan's houses. What's that road called? Leighton Road?
Leighton.
There was a bungalow there which had been rented for Baba. Because that cottage there, the cottage was there, that was okay, it was a little run down, so probably they needed to clean it up and all of that. Plus, they needed to build accommodation for the men monthly. Because in the cottage, Baba and the ladies stayed. And the men monthly had to stay somewhere, so they built some barracks for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all that preparation was to be done. So in the meantime, Baba was housed in this bungalow. So this is where Kumar was to bring the food. So Kumar said, happily Baba, and he was then instructed to bring a separate little utensil for Baba. The rice should be cooked so it's much softer, so Baba can eat it. So one day, apparently, the wife, Amrit's mother, forgot to cook that separate rice for Baba.
Oh.
So, of course, when Kumar goes to deliver the food, to his horror, that little utensil of rice for Baba was missing. So, of course, he apologizes to Baba, but Baba says, don't worry, it's okay. But when he goes home, he's very upset with her, his wife, and he slaps her. So, the next day, when he goes back to Baba, Baba All right.
He's very angry with his wife for not sending the food. And my mother kind of argued, so she said, so what? Because father was completely with Baba to serve him, love him. Mother was something new. She respected her husband's love for him and she would do anything her husband wanted, send rice for Baba. But then that day she made it, but she forgot to pack it. So when my father got angry that she said, so what? Big deal. I mean, I forgot. It's like, and then he got angry and slapped her.
Yeah, the result's the same, right?
Yeah, no, wait. So what happened as soon as it... No,
We're fine with that.
So as soon as it happened, Baba sent a monthly, one of the monthly member to our house saying, go quickly, because knowing now Baba knew Kumar and Kumar's temper and this, that, and that, sent one of the monthly member on bicycle, go quickly, because we were like only 4 miles away from where Baba was staying. Go there and tell Kumar, please not to be angry with your wife. But by the time that person came, my father was already, when she argued about it, those days, I guess that's how things used to be. These days, the wife beats up the husband.
Glad you said it.
So then on this...
Well, the punchline here is, of course, then Baba, yes, maybe that's the way it happened. It was a little different to what I remember. But the punchline is that Baba tells Kumar to bring her mother to him.
No.
No, he didn't go
So
there.
yes, he did. So what happened that when this person goes back to Baba and says, Baba, too late, by the time I reached to Kumar's house, they were all, they had a fight and Kumar was angry.
The damage was done.
And it was already done. Baba, and that's what shows about the Baba's love, compassion, all that. Within a short while later, Baba's car comes to our house. And Baba calls my mother and father there, and Baba, in front of my mother, stood with folding hand and asked for her forgiveness. Because of him, her husband got angry with her. And it happened, he asked and then asked Kumar it never should happen ever again. So that's, to me, it's very important. And my mother, when she tells this, said, Baba came and stood in front of me and asked to forgive me. She still weeps with that. Can you imagine Baba for a little thing, which husband and wife go through things like that. But Baba didn't like that, and because it happened because of him. Now.
No?
These details, it's like a story is one thing, but these details, Baba, and Baba does something, it has to be shared.
Anyway, years go by, then of course Kumar has become very close to Baba. Baba gives him many opportunities to be with him, spend time with him. Kumar, because of his toughness, his aggressiveness, Baba would use these characteristics of his close ones for his work. Like Bible, for instance, was so inquisitive, that's why Baba used him to sniff out the muss. So likewise with Kumar, he knew Kumar was tough and aggressive. So Baba would always call him for these mass darshan programs to help keep the crowds away from Baba. Because, especially the Andhrites, they're very exuberant and enthusiastic, and they would sometimes hurt Baba, because they wanted to go and hug him and, get his blessings. So they would form a little ring around Baba to protect him. And of course, Kumar was, very good at this. Apparently, Meru told Amrit once that Baba told them that when Kumar is there, I feel safe.
Baba called him my commander-in-chief. And And that's the time he made him his umbrella man, so he could hold the
Yes, he
umbrella.
could also
and-
hold the umbrella.
Yeah.
Apparently, yes. Yeah. Anyway, so time went by like this, and then one day, I'm very bad at dates, but this was when Baba was in Satara. Baba called Kumar to spend time with him. Kumar said there were other times when Baba would call him to be at Berazad or wherever else, and he would go prepared to spend, a week, 10 days, whatever. And he said before he knew it, he'd reach there, and the next day he'd be packed off again. So he thought, probably, Baba will call me and keep me there for a day or two. So he said he just went with the bearers of personal belonging and went to Satara. And when he got there, Baba said, okay, now you just stay here. And you are not to leave your room unless I tell you. You're not to communicate with your family, and you're just confined to your room. So Kumar said, all right, yeah, fine. He thinking, for a day or two and then he'll be back to normal. But he said, in total, he was there for 9 months. The only time that he ever got out of there was when Baba took him on a must hunt. Otherwise, he was in his room for that long. And he said, his clothes became ragged. He ran out of shaving material. He grew a beard, and he started thinking, I was better off in prison. Well, after 9 months, Baba then again is on a must hunt. Not that Kumar, as I say, Bagel was the master who would sniff out the must. But again, he played a role. What he'd do, Baba would sit in the front, Kumar would sit behind him, and in those days, the cars, we didn't have air conditioning, and in the blazing heat, so you roll down the windows, and the sun would be just glaring into the car. So Kumar would hold a piece of cardboard to shade Baba from the sun. And he'd become an expert in doing that. So Baba liked that, and he would have him do that. So anyway, he's saying he's driving with Baba, and Baba turns to him and he said, Kumar, you never really told me what you did before you came to me. So Kumar said, Baba, I was farmer. Is that what you did all your life, before you came to me? No, Baba, I was involved in the freedom struggle for India. He said, what happened? Well, Baba, of course, for all my blowing up British trains and stuff like that. I was told, he wasn't a passive revolutionary.
He didn't follow Gandhi, he did a real bangs and trains.
For disrupting law and order. I was in prison. Oh, how long were you there? Oh, almost 10 years, Baba. And how did you get released? Did you get released when India got its independence? No, Baba. No. I actually asked God for help. So Baba said, you asked God for help? What did you tell him? So I said, Mr. God, if you release me from this binding, I will happily accept any other binding you put on me. So he said, Baba then took my hand and placed it in his. Now in India, when you give a promise to somebody, you seal it with holding hands like this. That's our custom. So Baba placed his hand in his and held it at that. And he said, I'm the one who fulfilled your promise. I am that Mr. God. So Kumar said, all those years, he just loved Baba for what he was, but this is Baba telling him, who he really is. Not that it really mattered to him, but the seal was. So that's the story of Kumar. And hopefully-
My father looked a
hopefully
bit
that's-
confused that time, I mean not confused, my father was very quiet. So Baba looks at him and says, Kumar, didn't you know that I'm the one? So Kumar didn't say yes or no, as Dara said, he just wanted to serve him, he didn't care, he didn't, So Baba looked at him, but I'm the one who released you from prison. So then my father said, Baba, I've been having this dream, and in my dream I see this young person very much mad or whatever the word he used, is holding my hand the way you're holding right now, and looking at me and telling me that I'm your Mr. God, I'm the one who helped you to be out of prison, and then I'm your Mr. God. But Baba, it wasn't you. It was somebody, So then Baba later on asked, Eric, do you have my old photographs of things? My father used to dream of Baba, and Baba was kissed by Baba Jan and at Pasamaiji, and he had that cloth on his head, and he used to, that's the face, and my father wasn't so much introduced to Baba's words, so much to know all those times of Baba. So then, so Baba did come in his dream and tell him that I'm there, yeah. So it seemed like Baba did completed his imprisonment in ashram, but then another thing is when father came and he was told not to even write to your family. So Baba was very practical. Baba, he wouldn't say just person not to write to your family and be here in your room or this compound, or you cannot go shopping without do anything that. Yet Baba made sure through his Dehradun followers to go and see Kumar's wife as well, because we were all young and all that time, and make sure that they have enough food or the health is good and things. So he would do behind, but which my father didn't know. So like Baba would do, take care of everything around you, and yeah. Anyway, from the rest of his life, he was with Baba, and yeah. Anything else?
I think that's the story of Kumar.
You must have read these stories, most of you, in books and things like that, yeah. I usually, when I tell a story, I like to add the details. That story becomes straight, yeah, like, anyway, so, that was the whole story, of course, yeah. Okay, so.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but your father told me that the 9 months that he was confined to quarters with Baba was the exact amount of time he had left on his prison sentence.
Because the Indians are getting its independent, and 9 months later they were prisoners were getting out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And so he fulfilled his prison sentence
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
with Baba as the warden. Yeah.
Kumar told you this.
Yeah. And the line he used in the prison is, Mr. God, if you exist, help me to be out of prison.
Yeah,
Like a
he
challenge.
that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And then he said this, for this imprisonment, this binding, whatever binding you give me. So, same. Yeah. So, do we still have some time? I know we have to complete our 2 hours. Yeah. I'll tell you now the Kumar's mother, that who gave birth to Kumar in Shatrughan temple and things like that. So, as I said, she came from the mountains. Her family lived in mountains, and they were like a head of their tribes or whatever, the clan, whatever my grandmother's family. So as head of their clans, they had like several villages came under them. They weren't like kings and things, they were like heads. But they had lots of privileges. Even British government gave them the privileges and things like that. And so that they had lots of duties towards their villages and their people, So one of the things and they were all Shiva worshippers, the Lord Shiva, the ancient one. So every year for Shiva's birthday, it was my grandmother's parents have to go to Shiva temple, and it wasn't that, and the temple was even further away from their homes, like miles, and it would take a couple of days to go and come back. And there were lots of conditions put for these. They were Hindu Brahmins, and they had to do these prayers and things. So many other conditions. They have to go without shoes. They cannot carry food from home, and just eat berries and roots and things like that, like penance, like this, like that, in those days. So, and which my grandmother's parents did every year. Now my grandmother, this grandmother, before all these stories, before she got married, had child, when she was 7-8 years old, she insisted going along with them for that pilgrimage. And the parents said, no, you're too young and it's very hard and we go without shoes and we have to go to these mountains and it takes a long time and sometimes you don't find foods and berries and this and that, so don't, you're not coming. But she insisted that she wants, and she's made a big fuss, and she said, if you don't take me, I'll follow you after a few hours later. So the husband and I talked and said, okay, let's take, if she wants to take this pilgrimage, and we'll face the consequences, whatever happens. So she started walking. This thing is, when Baba says that your journey towards the God is not like today, it's many, many lifetimes and things like that. You choose a path and you go through. So, but this part shows a little bit that how it happens, how we come closer to God or Baba. So this story kind of gives you an idea. It's a true story. So then she started going with them, and of course because of her, their journey became a little slower than they would have completed in 5 days, but this time it seems like going to be much longer. And it just is like a second day, second day and a half or something, all of a sudden she stops. And her parents said, see, we told you now you're going to delay us and I'm not able to walk. She said, shh, I can hear something. I'm hearing something. So there must be some animals. She said, no. And then they stopped, started listening. And there was this chanting was going on. Some sadhu, somewhere in distance in mountains, the sound carried. And they looked around, they couldn't see anybody, but they heard this beautiful chanting, and this chanting was in Sanskrit shloka, which this person somewhere was chanting. My grandmother, when she became a grandmother, she told us this, what she remembered all her life, because it changed her life and many things happened because of that in her life. So and I remember today, and I'll tell you that shloka is in Sanskrit, I'll give you the little meaning of that. It was worshipping Shiva, and it says, He Vedanti Vyapak Vardhe Gaganancha Surjas Chandro Kal Vahino Hari Rudro Hari Rudro. Rudra is one of the Shiva's name. That's the Rudraksh, the bead we use, so it's part of Shiva's name. And it was saying, O Vedanta, who's above the Vedant, who's great, who's higher than Surya, the sun, who's beautiful than moon, and who's lives above and who's ever there, to someone like that, I bow to you, I bow to you. So that was the chanting was heard from distance. So my grandmother started going that way, so her parents started following her, that young girl, toward their side. When they reached after some time, there was this sadhu was sitting under this tree, and there's a completely nude, they call them Naga, Baba Naga means nude, and there's this fire is there, which is we call dhuni, and even though there was no villagers close by and things like that, there was some fruits kept to him, and to keep himself warm or covered, he will now and then take this hot ashes around the side of the fire and throw on him her head and things like that. That's how the dreadlocks come and things like that. And he would do things like that. So they said, and he didn't open his eyes, and he's chanting that shloka which I just said. And so they sat down next to him, and for a long, long time, and they completed they felt that the pilgrimage is completed because it was, they were dissatisfied and this and that thing they got, she was blessings they felt, and I don't know how long they stayed, maybe they completed those days or whatever, and then they come back home. Now she grows up, the girl, and she gets married, and then she's pregnant, then she has my father, her husband died, and she started becoming priestess, and things like that. The son was in prison, and then Baba, a new life comes into our life too. And she was very happy to see that son who was 8 years till today. She didn't believe in anything, never went to Hindu temples or any of that, but yet really worshipped this person who they call Meher Baba. And so she went there. She said, I would like to see this person. That time Baba hasn't moved to our village into this cottage which was built for him. As that story, he was living in the city, and because he was traveling, going to the mountains and all those places. So she went there to see who this person was changing my son's life, who now reads spiritual books and thinks about, he's changing. So, and when she met Baba, she liked Baba very much, and she told Baba, I wanted to see who you are, who changed my son's life. And then she came home, and she started feeling this love for Meher Baba, but she couldn't, whole her life, she had her Shiva and other Gram and Krishna, she had a little temple in her house, and she couldn't leave that, of course, because, but what she did when she got Baba's photograph, she moved her deities and those little statues on one side and put Baba's pictures and thanked them all. Because of them, she found Meher Baba. So her love, yet not leaving others. And she worshipped and did all her Hindu prayers in front of Baba and all these things. Kept her fast, she kept everything. To that extent, she was becoming, she could recite everything. Not only that, she could, if you have fever or something, she knew the prayers to bring the fever down. That slow chanting and something would calm the person and things. And then later on when Baba came to know, and now our family was Baba's lovers, and Baba would come and visit us, and we go and visit Baba. And so one day Baba called her and says, Baba called her Mataji. Mata is like a mother superior or mother. Even he called her Mataji. And Baba said, Mataji, can you for me leave all this now? Not your deities and praying and all that, but taking the fever out. And then those powers, the little power she had, and I'm sure my father must have told Baba about them. And so she said, okay Baba, I will do that. And she never after that. And I remember growing up, people used to come middle of the night asking for my grandmother. My grandmother would give the practical cures to them. So why don't you boil tulsi, which is like Indian basil, and give that water to your kid if he's got too bad cough or something, rather than doing her praying mantras and curing them. So she stopped all that. And then Baba came back in 54, our families were completely, we were family, we'll get gift from them, we'll go to all the Baba programs when Baba's there, do Baba's prayers and all that. Then a time came, I was around, I think it was early 60s, I must be 10 plus, really 10, 11 year old or something, early 60s. Baba wanted this Neelkant Mast to be brought to him from Rishikesh. So Baba sent message to his close followers, again Kishan Singh and Narawalas are still there, and my father has become a part of that outside Mandli and all that. So Baba sent letter through Baba wasn't writing, through Mandli, Arish most probably, or maybe Bhav or somebody, Bhav wasn't there. Bhav came in mid-50s, so he must be there, right? And sent letter to Kumar and asking, that Baba want that must to be brought to Baba, and I think Baba was in Satar at that time. has to be brought there. But then Baba put conditions, and Baba said only that person can travel with this, because everybody was ready to come to Baba. Anywhere Baba would do, they were very happy. But Baba said no. If you're completely free, if you have any responsibility which has to be fulfilled, or anything, even he kind of like you're involved in something, don't drop your responsibility and come. Only that person can come who's completely free, has nothing, to stay back for and can bring. So my father said, I have court case going on, but that can, I can, delay it, but no, I cannot go, I do have court case. Keki Narada said, oh, I'm completely free, but I'm going through this thing, and so every follower over there had something or other. They all could go and drop that and do that work later on, but Baba's instructions are Baba's instruction. Don't drop your work, don't do what you, only if you're completely free. My grandmother, because of Baba, we know what's the difference between us and that person, but they behave like crazy people, and no, it has to be man. On top of that, he doesn't wear clothes most of the time, he's nude, and so my grandmother says, no. So they said, okay. She said, no, ask Baba if I can travel. So my father sends a telegram to Baba, Baba, we can't find anybody in Dehradun who's not busy one way or other. But my mother says, I'm thinking. So immediately telegrams comes from Baba. I say, yes, let Mataji bring him. Yes. So see, my grandmother says, see? Yeah, Baba even agreed to that. So now, another order was to, when you have to go and meet this person, that not to tell him that where he will be taken to. Then he just had to just decide. Can you imagine you go to this mass or a mad-like person and who sits in one place for a long time, and you go and say, let's go? Where? So when a time came, I still remember it was like 7th, 8th of July, it was July month, early July like now. It was 8th of July when they went to, that mass was in Rishikesh, which is only like a half an hour away from our home. And my father and my grandmother, they both went, wondering what to say, how to make him stand up. He would sit in one place and all that. How to bring him out of that place and how to, So when they started going towards that place, he lived in woods in Rishikesh near Ganges. My grandmother heard this chanting, which she heard it when she was a child. And it was always there, and she taught us that too. It was same voice, same pace, and same chanting was going on. She tells my father, oh, I know what to say. My father said, what? She said, no, just watch. She goes, and she gives his hand to this, and when my grandmother reaches, the same person, my grandmother was 7-year-old, he was in his 60s or whatever. Today my grandmother is in his 60s and he is in his 60s. And yes, these sadhus, they don't change. So she goes and she says, they call them Baba. Baba is for the father, or Baba is Vishuman, and Baba is for the sadhus too. They're like fathers, they don't have any other name. She goes and gives her a hand. She said, Baba, it's time to go. She realized that he's been praying for something like that. And she said, Baba, it's time to go. He gives her a hand, he stands up, and he walks with her and my father. They go to the Rishikesh railway station, they sit in train, they come back to home. And then he was brought to home, and it's 9th of July. And around 10, I remember him. I mean, of course, I know which I remember. So we had in our house, and so now I heard him chanting it, mumbling, this thing. But because I had heard that shloka many a times and memorized it, I recognized that he's doing the same thing too. it was like a sound coming from somewhere else, not coming from a person. And so we had these like lounge chairs, we call them easy chairs, which had the cloth like Mansari's chair, but much bigger. Mansari had a small little thing. We had, and he just goes and plonks himself, completely nude, nothing. But for the young girls, I had two other sisters, a little older than me, and but for young kids, it's a really matter to see a nude person. But no, there was nothing nude about this person. Nothing, honestly. Then I'm 10 or 11, whatever, I don't know. Yeah, 11 maybe, 61, yeah. And he's just sitting there, and we're passing by and listening to him. And so and it's July, afternoon can be a little warm. And he's from the mountains, he's from Rishikesh jungle, so he's used to be cool climate. So my father gives me this big fan. We didn't have electricity in that area, in our area. City had electricity, but we lived in farms, in woods and all that. So gave me this fan to fan him. And I'm standing there fanning him while he's chanting and things. And then my brother was asked to come and fan, and my other sisters and things like we were all turn by turn cooling him like that, and he's like sprawled up, sitting like that, looking royal, hip wiggles, all his hair all over, the dust is on them and all, and completely sunburnt, very dark. And then my father comes to him and says, his name is Nilkant, he's a Nilkant Mast, you must have read about him in different things. So my father comes to him and says, Nilkant Baba, tomorrow is 10th of July and we all will be silent, so we won't be able to talk to you. We'll bring your food and fruit. So I don't remember, but I remember fruits next to him even as soon as he first arrived. They put little fruits on the table, but I don't remember him eating or anything. And so we won't be talking tomorrow, we'll be silent, and then on the 11th he'll be traveling with my mother. Means Kumar is talking to him, so this Kumar said his mother. So he looked up, and that's the last time he chanted that poetry, that song, that line. He started getting silent from that moment. Exactly, but that you heard that. It was also in Hindi, the language Hindi was used. That we won't be talking tomorrow, so he stopped talking from that moment. And not that he was talking, but reciting that. And he did, and he closed his eyes, it was like that. And then kids are kids, we must have moved on and things like that. Next morning we saw him still sitting in that chair. We'll just peek in there if he's still there. Is he eating? Is he going to bath? Nothing. He just he's like that, completely quiet. And no word from him. 11th comes morning, and the whole house is preparing. The lunch has been packed because my grandmother and him has to travel. All the instructions been given. Baba sent lots of instructions from Sahavas saying, which trains you have to take, and when you reach to the final station, what you have to do, and all that things are going on. Make sure that you don't get down too long, from the train, because the trains move very fast sometimes and all that, and the changing of trains and all that, changing of platforms and all that. So 11th morning, after all that hullabaloo, they got ready, and my father, I don't remember after that, but I know the story now, the story when grandmother comes back after dropping him with Baba, and so often from money at Mandri Hall, because other side of the story, when money would tell, and traveling story my grandmother would tell. So when they said my father put them in train, gave all the instructions and things like that to my grandmother that how to take, he is completely silent. He would also sit down in the train compartment, he sat down there. And again, opened up. So people started coming in the train, and they started giving this dirty look, because they looked exactly same age. So people thought this husband wife, the wife dressed like a sadhu to make money, because it happens in that area, Rishikesh and Haridwar. So they will, somebody will come and say, like, cover your husband or something. And, so my grandmother would pick up a towel. She had all these things. She would have towel, put it on his lap. He wouldn't say anything. He would let that towel on his lap and, partly covered. And then he will move or something and the towel will slip out and again she will do that. Time came, maybe she was resting and all of a sudden that compartment got full of ladies, lots of ladies came in that compartment. Mind you, he was so good, every time the train stopped and my grandma will say, come, let's go down, we have to go and change the train. We have to go in different platform to catch different train. He'll follow her. Sometimes he will see water running, and that's Mani told us this story because my grandmother must have told Mani. He will sit down under the, in India half the time the taps just run even though a water shortage. And maybe those that didn't have water shortage. And tap is running, he'll just go and sit down under the tap. And people, there were all types of people. People were rejecting him to be like the way he was sitting. But there were people, men and women will come and help him to bathe. They'll rub his back or this thing like that, just out of the blue. So there were people who could recognize what's going on and there were people who could not. So things like that will happen. He would allow them to wash his hands and wash his hair and things like that. But on time he will obey my grandmother and go to the right train with her and sit down. And he never gave her any trouble. Only when these bunch of ladies came and the man was with them who says, cover him, otherwise we'll throw you out of the train. And so the Mus is looking at, he realized something, some people are angry here. So looks at my grandmother. So my grandmother said, Baba, do you know what they're talking about? He had that gold made out of gold, that begging bowl, This gold is like that and there's a strip and then a handle is cut to it. That was the only thing he had, So he had that next to him and he would eat from that, the fruits would be kept inside. They're after your bowl, these people are, that's what they're talking about, they're going to take, he grabbed that, puts it on his lap and that's how he traveled the rest of his trip. He wouldn't let that go. Certain problems were sorted out. Anyway, when they reached to the final destination, and as they were told not to leave the station, either your train will be late or early, or the people will come and meet you there, could be delayed or something because distance and all that. You just stay there at the platform, and wait there. And these people come, they will recognize you. And they knew some of them, my grandmother from Dehra days and all that, New Lifetime and all. So, but when the final station came, nobody told him this is a final station or we travel more or what. He just leaped out from the door as soon as the train stopped and started running. And he ran out, and my grandmother started collecting her bags and this, and they said, wait, Baba, wait, the people meeting us here, we're supposed to not go anywhere, this is where to wait here. He didn't even hear her, and he was just like king, like a blind, just walking fast out of the railway station, right in the middle of the road, keep on walking, and my grandmother with a sari tucked in and all these things, running after him and trying to stop, got out of breath, and he just going, and for long times they said, she's in tears, and we're going to lose those people, will come and meet us, and they'll see us, train has already come, and I'm not there with the Mus, what will happen? After a long walk, he stops, and there's a road crossroad over here. And my grandmother reaches to him, he's standing there, my grandmother in tears says, now what? It's like a king lifts his one hand towards a certain direction. So she says, okay, now they can't go back. She didn't even know which way to go back. She says, okay. And he started walking and she's following him. They saw MeherBaba's cave there after some time. He knew where he's going, he'd never been there. And they reached it. There, now the Mani tells the story, Mani and Dehra all used to tell us the story. Before Mataji and Mas arrived at the gate, Baba is very, there's unrest in him. He's walking up and down. Way before the time he said he wanted to wear his best coat and dress up. And the Mandal hall and everything arranged, he's going to be. And way before time he went and sat down in Mandal hall and started waiting for the Mas, especially, And of course, Mas walks in. He hasn't talked from the 9th of July. It must be 13th, because the long traveling, he's completely silent. And he comes there in front of Baba. Baba stands up for him. He's weeping. The tears are coming out of that lifetimes of, search for MeherBaba and all that, which ended now, and weeping. And first word he said, after all that time, Mukti. He said this word to Baba, Mukti. Let me go now. So we don't know after that what happened. My grandmother was sent to the ladies' side, and to finish the story, I put 10 minutes. So then there's so many, I know as much as all you would know what happened to the Mas, because that's in the different books, the description. He was brought to Meherabad, and I think he must have got his liberation, I guess, because then nobody's. But my grandmother didn't see him, and I didn't hear much about, but that was the journey from her childhood till now. To see this different story, she's with Baba, she stays in the, with Mandli, ladies Mandli, and they're very happy to see my grandmother because in new lifetime they spend lots of time together. Mera, Mani, Najar, Meru, whoever was there. Even Najar was called later on, so she was there too. And they're all there. And one day then she's there, one day Baba, she must be saying Baba regularly, but this day Baba asked her, Mataji, first time you came here so far away from your home, from mountains and all that, would you like to go and visit places? Would you like to see anything? Do you have any desire which it never got fulfilled? What would you like to do? She said, Baba, everything is fine. I'm very happy and I'm with you. But no. Do you want to see? So she says, Baba, I'm from mountains, but I never seen ocean in my life because that's, where the ocean we have that. So Baba said, okay. So when the time came for her meeting, Baba sent her to Bombay, to Arnavaz and Nariman, and gave them full instructions to take a deep drilling boat to see the full ocean. And so she was sent to Bombay, and there's so many little stories Mani would tell, but anyway, she was sent to Bombay, and then when she goes to Bombay, after some time, Nariman and other Baba lovers, Arnavas, took her in a boat to way deep inside the thing where you couldn't see the land from a long time. She said she stands in a deck and looks, and in Hindi, with open big eyes, and she said, so much water. And so Mani and they all, and even especially Arnavas, because Arnavas were there, she used to tell us, she will stand on Arnavas, and she will tell, she said, never forget that how she expressed her this, when she saw this so much water. Anyway, she comes back home. My grandmother, I was saying, Karina earlier, had glaucoma, and her eyesight was weak from her 50s or whenever. Now she's in her 60s. I thought she was very old lady, but she was my age that time. Yeah. So she reaches home, and after a few days later, she starts feeling lots of pains and lots of this, and her vision is drastically, very fast started going. So my father took her to hospital, to eye specialist and all that, and they said, we told your mother got glaucoma, and in maybe those days, I'm talking about like 50, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe they didn't have good treatments, or maybe in that part of the winter they didn't have it. Anyway, so they said we can start treating her and giving her drops and all that, but we don't give any guarantee. Most probably she'll go blind. So what to do? Then immediately letter was sent to Baba. Baba mother arrived home, safe and sound and things, but she's developing this problem and she's going blind. So Baba sent her a telegram saying, Mataji, after seeing me with those eyes, what else would you like to see? My grandmother refused to go to doctors, to eye specialists and things like that. And she was blind very soon, in a few years' time, completely blind. I was growing up, my two sisters got married, and I had to take care of her for many years before Baba arranged her marriage. And so it's like he doesn't put you in, he gives you little trainings and all that. So how is this all connects, all connects.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, dear folks, as those guys on Car Talks say, you've just wasted 2 hours of your time. Thank you.